What's going on? Yeah, it's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, representing Team King of Games all day, every day. And today we're going over an update from my Magical Musketeers. I went over a couple builds on it, not necessarily like different hybrid variations, but just like different builds where like I made different card choices and like I had to tech things out. I also had to proxy because I was missing like Starfires and Caspers, but everything's there now. Like, it's all complete. I have 3 of everything that I want, and I'm able to just play the deck the way that I wanted to play it to begin with. So there's a few card choices that you might see that you don't see in standard Magical Musketeers. I don't feel like there's a standard yet, but you just may be surprised by it, and you may actually, like, I guess you would say, may not agree with some of my card choices, but nonetheless, I made them for my own personal reason. Without further ado, let's hop right into the deck profile. So starting off with monsters, we're playing 3 copies of Starfire. I feel like Starfire is better than Casper because Starfire gets you to Casper anyways. So I'd rather open with Starfire simply because I can still have Starfire and Casper. And now I have 2 Musketeers, you know, and that's better than 1. Like, that's just me. But still, nonetheless, Casper is like the star of the deck. Like, everybody loves Casper because he searches everything. Like, you have your, basically your tour guide and then like your Stratos semi. But these are the monsters you absolutely want to open up with. If you can't open up with Starfire or Casper, you definitely want to open up with Kid Brave because he digs you into your deck to see these monsters. So these are the 3 ups for my Magical Musketeer lineup. These are the only ones that I want to open up with going first. And then for your recurrers, basically these monsters are here for the interactions from mid to late game when you're like running low on resources and you need to like recur things, recycle, or just like create this weird loop. So we're playing 2 copies of Doc. I really love Doc. I played my homeboy Ed De Leon. He's a member of our team. We did a mirror match of Magical Musketeers. My pot of desires literally banished like every single Magical Musket spell to trap except for Desperado that was in my hand, the steady hand that was in my grave, and the cross domination that I had, cross domination and the steady hands were in my grave. So I basically was using Doc to recur those same spells and traps, those 3, just rotating them out with Doc, like just grinding it out with Doc. And that's when I realized Doc is clutch. Doc is clutch. And he adds any musket card, so he can add any of the monsters, the spells or traps. He's amazing. Like, he's just mid to late game, he's your recurrer. Like, for example, if you're trying to like dodge an Ash Blossom, you can just use him to add back a copy of the cards that you need from your graveyard. He's really, really good. And then we have 2 copies of Calamity. Calamity is just the Monster Reborn, basically. Long story short, she's the Monster Reborn. And then we have 2 copies of Wild. So you have the 3 Musketeers that you want to open up with, and then you have 2 of the other ones that you want to see mid to late game because they'll give you that synergy you need when you're either A, grinding it out, B, you burn through a lot of resources very, very quickly when you're playing those decks that can just play through your interference and your interruption, or C, if your desires raped you. So those are some really, really good reasons why these cards are amazing. Wild is just Emerald for any cards. The monsters and the spells or traps. That's why I'm playing 2 of them. Why? Because I want to use Wild to recycle the first Wild that I use and just have a never-ending loop where you just wild. Because let's say you play 1 Wild, right? And let's say he didn't get banished by Pot of Desires. And let's say you use his effect to recycle 1 time. Then he dies. How on earth are you going to be able to use the effect of Wild again if you really need it? Like, that's what happened to me. It came up where I was like, dang, I wish I had another Wild. Because I was playing 1 of them to begin with, and I was like, screw this. Wild is great. There's nothing bad about him. He's really, really dope. You can use him on your 2nd turn. He's 17 on legs. He's amazing. Granted, there is another way you can do it. Of course, you can Calamities him back. Of course, Doc can add him from grave back to your hand. But the thing was, like, you don't always have these cards. And then also at the same time, when you have them, a lot of the times you use their effects on stuff like this. Casper, Starfire, Kid Brave, or Doc to just add back the spells or traps. So there's a lot of good reasons for playing just 2 Wild. So I feel like 3, 3, and 3, and 2, 2, and 2 is like perfect for me. It's just like, this is my standard lineup. And I'm playing no hand traps in this deck, not because hand traps are bad. I love hand traps. You guys know I have every hand trap under the sun. It's just because people have been asking me to do deck profiles without hand traps. And it's a new year, so we want to start off the new year healthy with no hand traps because people hate hand traps. Then for the spells, I personally opt to playing 3 Cross Domination. Yes, it is a hard once per turn, but it is an amazing card. It helps you going 2nd. And also, like, sometimes your Casper gets ashed. You know, and like if you can't search out a card like this that you really need, it's always nice to just play 3 of it so that you'll open up with it pretty frequently. So that's it's a really, really good reason for playing this card at 3. And then also to go in tandem with that, we're playing 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. It's kind of like Domination, but not as good. but nonetheless, it's negation that you can play from your hand. You know, if you're trying to just stop any effect during standby, it's a good bait. You can just set it. They like twin twister it, sleeper it, you just chain it, negate something. You can play it in damage step. It's a really, really versatile spell. I like it a lot. There are times where you can also do like, you know, a Starfire play, and then Starfire special summons Casper. Then you activate Chalice in Casper's column and negate Starfire, and then trigger Casper to search. So there are ways that you can play the card going first, and it's really, really good. That's like, I think the only way you can play it going first. But there are other spells that I play that I'm basically running them because you can open up with them and trigger the effects of your Musketeers first turn. We're playing 2 steady hands. This is one of the ones that you can play your first turn and trigger, you know, Casper, Starfire, whichever one you want, Kid Brave. But also, even though you can do that, I still don't feel like this card is that good. Yeah, you can double their attack, and like it's good enough to play at 2, but I don't feel like it's that good to where I'm like, dang, I want to play this card at 3. Ed loves this card. You know, Ed plays 3 of this in his Magical Musketeers, and I don't see a reason why, you know, you really need to play 3, but it's his deck, and he can play it how he wants. But me personally, I just like the 2. It works out. It's totally searchable. You can recycle it, and at the same time, it's not all that. And then we play 3 copies of Ties of the Brethren, the card that you absolutely want to see going first. I'm still looking for double summons, because I want to play like 3 ties and 2 double summons or something like that. Because I feel like double summons better going second. Ties is horrible going second. But then again, at the same time, this deck is a going first deck. Like, you want to go first with this deck. It's not necessarily a deck that can afford to go second, but there are times when you can go second and you can still perform just downright absurdly. Like, you'd be surprised sometimes what this deck can do. 3 Tomb Tables of contents, just to trigger your Casper's effect, or like if you open with Starfire, you go Starfire in her column, then this in Casper's column, and then you search out the 3rd, and you can just use it whenever you want. It's a really, really, really good spell in this deck. 2 copies of Desires. There are cool ways where you can more than +1 off of this, where you can activate it in Kid Brave, Casper, Wild, or Doc's column. And either way, you're going to net more than 2 cards off of it. You'll net 2 off of this, and then 2 more off of Kid Brave. Or you'll net 2 off of this, and then 1 off of Wild. Or 2 off of this, and 1 off of Doc. Or 2 off of this, and then a search off Casper. So, Pot of Desires is really insane in this deck sometimes. Not all the time, but it definitely is a really, really good spell. This is my Toon World. I can't find Toon World, so I'm just proxying it. It's the one proxy of the deck. That is going to sum it up for the spell lineup. And now for the traps. We're playing 3 copies of Magical Musket Desperado. I really like this card, especially going second. It's the Dryden. It really does help out a lot. Like, supposedly this deck was supposed to be the next Zodiac. I just don't see how it could have ever been. I just think there's too much hype around the deck. I think this deck is a semi-decent deck. It's not great, but it's good. I'll say that. It is good. And people would think it sucks. I don't know. Maybe they just haven't played Musketeers, because this deck is pretty decent. I'm definitely not overhyping it, but it's decent. You know, it can do some stuff. And then Last Stand, like, Warning is the bane of your existence. Strike is the bane of your existence. Stuff like that, like evenly matched. Like, there's just some really, really annoying traps that this can shut down. And it happens to be a counter trap, so it can negate, like I said, the Warning and the Strike. I only mention Warning and Strike because this happens to be able to negate it, and it's really interesting that you're playing a searchable card that can negate counter traps. Like, that's high ceiling to me. Of course, every deck plays spells or traps, so this is another form of interference in addition to Desperado and also Cross Domination. Dancing Needles is something I'm teching in because I feel like it rapes certain decks, like Trick Stars, Banishing Their Reincarnations, Pendulum Magicians. I don't know how it can really rape them, but I definitely think this rapes ABCs. It also can rape Spirals, believe it or not. It's just really, really good. Like, the interference, BAs, like I can name a bunch of decks that Banishing from the Graveyard can really hurt them, and it's just free interference. It's really, really good. Double Strike and 1 Warning to pretty much have like some not Magical Musketeer traps, but good traps at the same time. There's only sometimes with these rape you where it's like, dang, I set it in the wrong column because, you know, the column I tried to summon to, like, it got popped by Sleeper, or like it got popped by Time Pendulum Graph, something like that, and it's like, dang, now, you know, I can't actually get the maximum value out of it because I can't play it in someone's column, but they're still really good cards. And of course, the Phoenix Geo, it's just a really good one-off. I feel like every single list should play at least one of it because it protects your Musketeers. I just don't like it that much because it does block the column. And then for the extra deck, which I rarely ever go into, but when I do, it's just style points, and it's really just because you can. Lightning Package, Baguska, Tornado, Castell, Kier Gorgon. Great card. Protection is really, really necessary. The fact that he redecks Masterpiece is like a really good reason. Then for the one rank 3, I chose Breaksword. I really don't like overlaying my Caspers, and I don't like overlaying my Kid Braves. I like to keep them. So I feel like rank 3s just shouldn't come up that much in this deck. Rank 4s come up a lot more because Starfire and Calamities make rank 4s happen. So like once you resolve their effects, you really don't always need to do it again. So you don't always have to like leave them on the field and keep triggering their effects. So like rank 4s come up more than rank 3s, like I said. For the links, we're playing 3 link 4s, the best ones, probably the only ones. I don't know any other link 4s that exist right now. And then Decode, Gaia Saber, Akashic Proxy, and Binary Sorceress. Link summoning comes up when you open up with ties and you're able to protect your board. Then you can go like Link. You can go like Calamity Special and then Link. And then you go Starfire Special and then Link. And then normal summon. You can still do stuff. So it has its days. But I still, like I said, it's not really like a tier 1 deck. But it can be. I think if somebody just finds like some kind of hybrid variant that just shatters the deck ceiling to the point where it's like it's no longer a tier 3 or 2 deck. It's like a decent, viable option for the meta, but not right now. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. I'm going to be uploading like a madman because my channel has been stagnant and dormant for like 5 days, and I'm not satisfied with that. I like to have consistent content for my subscribers, so you guys can always be satisfied with being a subscriber to this channel, because I feel like you made that commitment to basically dedicate yourself to supporting me, so I have to follow suit on my end. But I'm going to go ahead and sign out and move to the next video. Peace out.